Joining us now from Washington to discuss the president's agenda is White House Deputy Press Secretary Bill Burton. Bill, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, Juan. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bill, here's the question no one wants to answer, it seems to me. David Axelrod wasn't answering it on Sunday. Robert Gibbs wouldn't answer it earlier this week. And the president wouldn't answer it today at the town hall meeting. So will President Obama's break his campaign pledge to raise the money to pay for the new health care plan by taxing people who earn less than $250,000 a year on the health care benefits they get from their jobs?
Juan, I want to be crystal clear about where we are right now in this moment negotiating out where health care reform is going to end up. The president has been clear that that is not what he prefers. He put his principles forth in the campaign. He's been talking about them as president. And right now we're sitting down at the table with Republicans and Democrats, folks in the House and in the Senate, to try to find the best way forward. When he began this process, he didn't carve his plan into stone tablets and have Nancy Ann go and deliver it on Capitol Hill. What he did was he put forward his ideas, his principles, and he's now working with folks who are all sitting down at the table to work out health care reform in order to get the best possible plan that's going to bring down costs for folks.
This is a read my lips moment, don't you think? This is something that he pledged during the campaign. He said absolutely no taxes on any family earning less than $250,000. So if he believed this, why doesn't he say this to the people who are working on the legislation? I'm not going to sign anything that comes with a tax on people earning less than $250,000.
Well, for starters, Juan, you don't get more people to the table and more people to talk to you about reform by immediately closing people out of it by waving your veto pen and saying the things that you're not for to begin with. People know exactly where the president stands. They know exactly how he thinks is the best way to go about to do this. And so what he's doing right now is sitting down with folks from the health insurance companies to employers like Walmart, to doctors and other folks to make sure that we get the best plan possible. If you look at the way this was done last time, you did not have all these people at the same table. We want to keep this table as big as possible. We want to keep everybody in their chairs, and we want to get the best deal humanly possible for the American people.
But Bill, here we go again.
Reform.
I just think this is a credibility moment, right? I mean, if the American people are going to say, we believe in President Obama, they've got to believe in his word, and his word was no taxes on anybody who's earning less than $250,000 a year.
Well, the president made it very clear to folks, time and time again, how he thinks that we ought to go about doing this. When you look at his plan, he thinks that you can pay for two-thirds of this plan by just moving money around inside the healthcare system right now. The other third he thinks that you can pay for by going back to the tax rates that we had under Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. Now, there are other people who have different ideas of how to fund healthcare and different people who have different ideas of how much the cost is going to be and how you get the coverage to folks. And right now, he's got his ideas that he brings to the table, and he's talking to the other folks who are sitting there with him.
All right, Bill, let me just ask again about this tax issue, because I want to just move on to tax issue as it concerns the cap and trade legislation. Now, again, the president said he wasn't going to raise taxes on anybody earning less than $250,000, but when you look at cap and trade, what it looks like, even by the president's own measure, is you're going to increase the cost to consumers, to utilities. Everybody's going to have to pay more money as a result of this energy legislation. Isn't that right?
Well, first of all, let's talk about what this cap and trade bill is. It's first and foremost a jobs bill, which this country desperately needs right now. And in the context of that jobs bill, what it does is it lessens our dependence on foreign energy. It increases the ability that we have to produce more renewable sources of energy right here at home domestically. And it takes care of our environment in ways that we haven't in a very long time that we need to right now. When it comes to looking down in the future at what this is going to cost businesses or individuals, you know, the cost to an American family, depending on whose estimate you use, because this isn't a fee that the government would put on the American people. It's something that people think energy producers could pass on to some of their consumers.
But they would, but Bill, they'd pass it on because the government would legislate under President Obama's plan the requirement that they have to pay more if they are emitting these CO2 gases. So wait a minute, you say the government wouldn't force it, but in fact the government would be the mechanism that's forcing the hand of the utility companies to raise their rates.
I understand the bank shot that you're making there, but in fact what the government is doing is it's making an investment to create jobs, and it's making an investment in order to bring down the dangerous level of CO2 that's in the atmosphere. And in order to do that, yes, we do think that companies who are producing some of those emissions are going to have to pay for it. But the cost to the American people could be as much as $175 a year for a family.
Well, other people
that the
have
energy
higher
companies-
estimates now. Some people go as high as $4,000. But again, this comes back to this question I put to you at the very start when we're talking about health care. Didn't the president say that he wasn't going to raise any cost, taxes and the rest, for people earning less than $250? And wouldn't this, in fact, raise the cost of a family's living expenses at a time of a recession? Is this the time to be raising family costs?
One, I don't think that anybody is going to accuse the president of being responsible for any costs that go up for American families. We're going to put in place health care reform, and over the course of the next 20 and 30 years, there's going to be inflationary aspects that make health care reform go up, or health care insurance go up, but that's certainly not going to be because the president put a tax on it. It's going to be because some costs just go up. No, we don't think that right now is the best time to be raising taxes or putting a bigger burden on the American people. That's why the president put in place some of the biggest tax decreases for middle-class families in the history of our country when he passed the recovery plan. So
All right.
the
Well,
president's
Bill,
been serious about bringing down costs for the American people when it's related to health care, when it's related to energy, and he's been serious about getting tax cuts to folks, and that's exactly what he's been able to do.
All right, I'm going to make one last try on this one, Bill. Today I read in that energy bill that, in fact, everybody who sells a house in America will be required to retrofit the house to reach some kind of green standards before they can sell it. So again, that's going to make it more difficult to sell a house at a time when we want to encourage the housing industry's rebound. What's the president thinking?
Well, the president is thinking that one of the things that we ought to do is save money by decreasing our energy costs. And that's what happens when you weatherize a home. You decrease the cost that you pay every single month for electricity, if that's what's fueling your air conditioning unit or your furnace, or gas, if that's what's fueling those things. And the president thinks that in the long term, that won't only bring down energy costs for every single family, but it'll also decrease our dependence on foreign sources of energy.